Hello and welcome back to the GorillaBiker, and today we're finally doing the on-road living with review of the Vantrue motorcycle dashcam kit. This is the F1 dashcam kit, and I have to say it didn't really disappoint me. So before we start off, what we're going to be talking about today is the pros and cons of the system and do you need one. So if you want to hear or talk about any of that, well, you can't talk to me, but you can leave a comment. Stay tuned. So first and foremost, and probably the most important in my opinion anyway, is full disclosure time. Vantrue did send me this dashcam to try and test. However, they did not at any point ask me to say anything that I did not believe myself. They didn't try and influence my decision in any way. The agreement was to make an installation video, which I did. We'll get to that in a sec, and also a review at which I asked could I have it for at least a month on the bike before I made it, and they said no problem. It has been considerably longer than that, and there's a couple of reasons for that, but namely among those is I kept kind of wanting to try something else that I didn't really try, etc. So we have now at this point around about 3,000 miles on this system on the V-Strom. Because I use the V-Strom for commuting a lot, and I commute at the moment 120 miles a day, so it's really been tested. Now, one other thing I want to cover is, yes, I have done an installation video on this, and it's actually one of the pros of the system is I found it incredibly easy to install. So the installation video was actually, in my opinion, it was actually difficult to make an installation video because it was very, very straightforward. So that is a definite pro of the system. But without going into it too much from that point, I do want to talk about, first and foremost, who is this for? Because I think that's something that I think a lot of people commenting on the original video, they didn't really understand why they might need it. Unfortunately, in modern society, people like to sue people, and people like to drive on their phones, which I see literally every day, and basically just drive really badly in general anyway. So who is this system for? It's someone who uses their motorcycle as their car, like I do. I predominantly use the V-Strom. I prefer using the V-Strom. I don't really like driving cars that much. So yeah, definitely for me, I think number one is, do you use a motorcycle more than you use a car, for instance? Do you commute on your motorcycle? All of those things kind of adding up definitely would push you towards the dash cam and maybe needing one. And also it really depends what country you live in. If you're in like America, definitely. Canada, you know, Ireland, England, most of the rest of Europe, where people just really like suing each other, it's probably best if you have one. For instance, insurance in Ireland love to turn down claims. Insurance providers in general tend to kind of suck. So it's really helpful to have some footage of what happened to back up your word if it went to court or whatever else. It's a definite nice to have. So that's who it's for, in my opinion. Who it's not for is someone who wants to use this as a moto vlogging setup. Not for them, not for someone who wants to make beautiful videos and share it with their friends, etc. But we'll get to that in a minute. So other pros, other than the aforementioned ease of install, it works really well as a dash cam. So I mean, that is the point of this, and I will be rating this purely off it being a dash cam. You have a front and back camera. I turn on the bike, it automatically boots up and records my daily travels. It has not failed me once. Never has it failed to record when I went back and looked for a piece of footage that I felt should be there. It's not failed to record. Now, one part of that is setting up. You can set up loop recording. I did away with that very quickly when I actually missed a piece of footage I wanted because of the loop, because it didn't trigger. So it wasn't anything bad, but the auto saves are triggered off like G-forces, and we'll get to that in a minute too. I wanted to look for a piece of video because someone nearly ran into me just to see how close it was, and it was gone because I had a loop recording. So now instead what I do is I save 1 minute clips, but I don't loop, and I format the SD card about once a week, which also is recommended from Vantrue. Now, I'm sure that does depend on the quality and size of the SD card you use, but it is something Vantrue did ask me to mention, is that they recommend you format once per week. So I have followed that instruction. sometimes not perfectly, but I've never had a failure of the SD card up until this point. So pro number 1, it's easy to install. Pro number 2, it works really well as a dash cam, and I'm going to be putting some footage on screen now from the front and rear camera as we're talking through this. One thing, like I said, to notice is, you know, the video fidelity, I suppose you'd say, like the actual, it's not a GoPro. I think that's important to say. You know, the actual beautiferousness of the video is not a GoPro. It doesn't have the same body, it doesn't have the same color. However, it is, in my opinion, very, very good quality for what is a dash cam, something that lives on your bike all year round and you don't need to worry about it. And that is the next pro, is I've never needed to worry about this thing. I put the key into the V-Strom, I turn it on and it records. And I think that is the main function of a dash cam, because the thing is, hopefully you never need to have a dash cam. Hopefully nothing ever goes wrong that you need video for. However, when something does go wrong, it absolutely 100% has to work, or it's not worth the investment. It's pointless. I mean, in this case, I feel like it would be there, you know, the day I did have a mishap, if I ever have a mishap, and hopefully I don't. But I do feel like that would still have the actual footage there and I'd be able to use it. Okay, so just to give you a sense of the microphone, here's my hand, just to show this is live, wiggling around my fingers. Middle finger, forefinger, I can't remember names. Little finger, there you go. So this is what the microphone sounds like when it's completely stationary with no kind of outside noise. And straight after this I'll show you the noise like at speed, because it's obviously quite a bit louder. Yeah, there's my hand again. Woo! Anyway, that's it. And that kind of covers the pros for me, in my opinion. You know, like, I think the video is quite smooth. If you did want to, you know, take like CCTV footage or dash cam footage as you raced around the track, I think it'd actually be perfectly effective. The front camera is quite smooth. It doesn't judder around. It's not hard to look at. It's not going to make anyone sick. So you could use it for something like that too, if you wanted a you know, non-GoPro style video. It is a smaller lens than is on a GoPro. It doesn't, I'm sure, have the same amount of processors and all that fancy business running it as a GoPro, and it definitely doesn't have the same color out of the box as a GoPro, and just less pixels as well, I would imagine. So it doesn't look as good, but you could definitely still use it if you're racing around a track, or, you know, just wanted to show someone something. You could definitely download that in a minute. And on to the cons, and this is definitely one of the things that is not ideal. So if you wanted to pull a lot of footage quickly, you would have to take the SD card out of the unit. And we'll run through that at the very end of the video, say, after we talk through the rest of the cons. I'll actually show you some live demonstrations of what I'm talking about, but it's not exactly like quick and easy to get the SD card out. You do have to have the little screwdriver, you do have to take out the door. I'm not going to even bother doing it, I'll just show you how to do it. And there's two tiny screws to remove to get that SD card out. Now, con number 1 for that is obviously it's quite difficult to get the SD card out and not lose those screws. Con number 2 is if, for instance, you were stopped and didn't think to format the SD card and you'd been doing some bold things, it's not that easy to get rid of it. What? Hey, why did that happen? The absolute cheek of my garage light. So that's definitely a con as well. It's just the difficulty of getting that SD card out and folded in with, and I'll show this as I said live, downloading the video file is not that quick. So when you do it in your garage here, I'm not going to start up the bike, whatever else, it's quite late. You would run your battery down. If you just wanted to download like 10 gigabytes of footage or whatever else, you would have to pull the SD card. Otherwise you're probably melting your battery downloading them to your phone. So definitely, I think the access to the footage in anything other than the 1 minute clips for dashcam purposes isn't that fast. Now, I know I've seen that as a comment about a lot of other SD card or dash cams, is it's just not that quick to get the footage without taking out the SD card. So definitely a con for me though. It's something that absolutely has to be mentioned. It's quite slow to get the footage off. Especially, like I said, if you don't have your bike actually running. And I mean, no one really wants to leave their bike running to pull the footage. So when I wanted to get a large amount of footage off to test it or whatever, I have pulled the SD card in the past. Another con is obviously it's a pricey system. None of these kind of dash cam setups are cheap. However, and not to defend Vantrue or anyone else charging a lot of money for things at the moment, it does have 2 lenses. It does come really easy to set up. Everything is plug and play. So I think value for money, I mean, you are kind of getting your value for the money in comparison to what, you know, like a GoPro or a single camera costs. It's easy to connect up. The directions are pretty straightforward, and it hasn't failed me. So I think overall, would I buy one of these? Yes, I had been thinking about getting a dash cam anyway, because I commute so much on my bike, particularly this bike. And I want to put dash cams on my cars too, or my cars and Toaster's cars, because I think it's just one of those things in modern society in certain countries, like I mentioned, you kind of do need one, particularly since the advent of these bloody things that people can't seem to not drive like this with, you know. It's just zombies, complete white eyes, slack-jawed, basically no heartbeat at all. They just want to eat some brains zombies. It's so annoying, especially as someone who rides bikes every day, which I'm sure a lot of you can identify with. You see it. You see every single day people with the phones in front of their faces on the steering wheel. And unfortunately, having lived and commuted in 2 different countries now, it's not limited to anywhere. It's in Ireland, it's in the US, it's all across Europe when I rode there, and I'm sure it's in any other place that has access to a mobile phone, which is everywhere, because people just can't seem to leave them down. So that's not really related to the cons, but there you go. Another kind of con, which we'll show you in a second, is the setup is a little bit convoluted, and we'll jump into that now. So first and foremost, just to show you where everything is kind of routed, you would have already seen the cameras. They haven't moved. Thanks again, Ian, for this tall seat. I love it. Everyone who is tall should get a tall seat. This is where I have the unit. So it lives here in this little Vantrue box, and all the cabling is just kind of wound up and cable tied in there. But essentially this little door here, and I'm not sure how clearly that will be for you guys, but I'm sure you'll get it. There's 2 little screws here. They're really, really small. You have to remove to get in to the SD card. I think this could have been like a pop door or something, like even a flap you pull away, rather than a screw in. That's one definite piece of feedback, because it's a bit of a pain. But then that's all your cabling. The rest of my cabling is hidden. You can't even see it. So that's how you get to there, but super, super easy to do that. Now, where the hell did I put my key? Oh, there it is. So here we are on the Vantrue app, and this is live. So this happens every time. You have to go manual connection. It doesn't find it. Then you want to go to the Vantrue option.
Wi-Fi is connected.
And now we're connected. So now you can actually see live. This is the front camera, and this is the rear camera, okay? But now what we're going to do is go to library. Just to give you
Stop recording.
and all the time it's talking to you. I know some people don't like that. One person made a really weird comment about the accent in the recording previously, which I don't understand. Never bothered me. But let's look at... So for instance, this is the rear cam. It's really hard to get this to focus, sorry. So you can see there, that's just the rear cam. I don't want to download that one, we'll find a better one. We'll go here. So this is a standard 30-second clip from the front. We'll download that. You'll just see how long this takes to download now. Come on, focus phone. Focus on the phone. So this is live. This is how long it's taken to download 30 seconds off the front camera. As you can see, not very fast. That's, like I said, 30 seconds footage. So if you don't keep your clips short, they get really bad. Now we go into the settings. And you can see, so sync phone time, language English, your Wi-Fi, you can rename your Wi-Fi. Really hard to get you to see that. The resolution then, so it is a 4K front camera when you have front and rear both turned on. You can see them here at 30 frames per second. Video 2-in-1, so you don't get two separate clips. You can blend it all into one with the rear camera in the box in the corner. I don't want to do that. Loop recording, as you can see, is 1 minute. I actually did have that turned off, but I must have turned it back on. Voice alert, so if you don't like the voice alert, you can turn that off. It's that easy. G sensor, I would recommend changing that. So 3 is what I have it on right now. But 3 is not, it's a bit sensitive, and I might change that again. You can adjust your exposure if you think it's too bright, so you go into exposure, and then you can change them. Right now mine's at 0. Apologies, it's really hard to focus on a phone screen, it would turn out. Let's see if we go down in brightness a bit maybe. There we go, that's a bit better. Indicator, whether it's on or not, you can turn on and off your lights. Rear mirror, number plate, so you can set your own number plate that would appear in it. These are your stamps, so you can turn on and off your speed stamp, your GPS location stamp. You don't have to have any of these things on, which is nice. Parking mode, you can turn that on and off in collision detection, but you do need to, I think, have a more kind of drip fed power. Low light mode I have on. Battery voltage protection I have on, so you can actually see it's currently waiting, and if it hits 12 volts it'll turn off, which is cool. I do like that. GPS settings, format your SD card, blah 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 blah. Really kind of intuitive, but it can be a little bit daunting for someone coming in here the first time. So that's kind of the app. It's, like I said, it's pretty easy. It's just like, it's a lot to it, so it can be a little bit daunting. I have had some people comment that they really didn't like it too much. But I mean, in my opinion, I think it's quite easy to connect to it. I've never had an issue connecting to it. Day one, easy peasy. The Wi-Fi system actually finds it very quick. And I've never had an issue actually connecting my phone. I've never had any freezing, transferring videos, nothing like that. The battery voltage protection I have tested in the past, and when you set it at 12.5 volts or 12 volts, it does cut it out where you want it to cut out. I leave mine on 12 because when the bike is actually just turned on the key, the V-Strom has always sat at about 12.1, 12.2 with all the lights and stuff on. So unless it's running, it's not above 12.5. Another thing that I'm sure will be asked, it does not kill the battery. I have not had the battery go dead on the V-Strom. However, it is worth mentioning, I do use the V-Strom a lot. So it does get ridden a lot, so that also I'm sure would play into it, the fact that, you know, it's not sitting to go dead. I think that's important to mention as well. So overall, do the pros outweigh the cons, the cost and whatever else, and the cost of the unit, I'll actually just check. Yeah, so the cost of the unit still as it was, it's still $400. Would I buy one? Yes, I would. That's what it boils down to. The pros outweigh the cons, in my opinion. Yes, I think it is worth €400, dollars, whatever you might have to pay. I actually came away impressed with it. The cameras are good quality. The system is easy to install. It's been very, very solid and robust. I've went through several heavy showers of rain where you know, it's where I have it located should be quite dry anyway, but the cameras lasted just fine. The front camera took a direct hit of a massive bug at one point. I did have to clean it, but it didn't tear off and it didn't take any damage whatsoever. The lens is still perfect. Where I have it on the front could technically be subject to some stones and whatnot, say if I was close to someone, but I haven't seen any damage on it at all. Those cameras are replaceable too, which I also like. But anyway, to summarize, would I buy it? Yes. If you were in the market for a dash cam for your motorcycle, would I recommend this one? Yes. Is it expensive? Yes, but it is an investment. Down the road, it could save you God knows how much money. And I honestly don't think I would commute all of the time on a bike without one. I mean, obviously I do bring the other bikes sometimes, but the reason the V-Strom is my daily is because, well, it's my daily, so it got the camera. Yeah, I am more comfortable with it on there. You don't have to have one, but I'm more comfortable with it on there. Watch outs, like I said, it's not for everyone. It's not for someone who wants to use it for the finest of video and moto vlogging and whatnot. It does have a microphone, but it's not very good. It captures what you're saying, it captures what those around you are saying. So for instance, if you're at a traffic stop and you wanted to record the voice of whoever was talking to you, it would catch that, and it would catch it clear enough to discern what they were going to say. If you're in a traffic incident and someone was screaming at you or whatever else, it would also capture that. At speed, it just captures wind noise because that's what microphones do. But yeah, stabilization is good. The app I have found very good. The only things, like I said, I would call out: downloading large volumes of files. You definitely need to pull that SD card, which is a bit of a pain. But like I said, you can take 1 or 2 clips at a time. It doesn't take too long. It won't kill your battery, and it does have the battery protection. So yeah, that's it. Does the Vantrue F1 Motorcycle Dashcam get a thumbs up from me? It does. Thanks to Vantrue for sending it to me for testing out. Thanks for them for being so patient to let me test it properly. That is something I will promise. If a company sends me something, I will always test it properly so you don't waste your money. Because I am not a rich person, and most of the people who watch this channel are not rich people, so I never want to actually be the reason that you go out and waste money. So if I have said I will buy something, I mean I will genuinely buy it, and in this case I would genuinely buy it. I have actually considered putting one on the Z900RS as well, because I ride that bike quite a lot too, so we'll see. And yeah, that's it. So like I said, thanks to Vantrue for sending it to me to test. Thanks to all of you for staying with this video and watching it this far if you have. And a special thank you as always to all of my patrons. Just to put this out there, this review video was not scripted. I don't script these videos on purpose because I want to tell it as I think of it, as I've used it. I think that's important. This is as honest as I can do because I have not scripted this. This is daily using the thing. That's important to me. So that you get like just a normal person commuting on the bike using a dash cam. That was the intent of it. So hopefully that was clear. And yeah, until next time, if you've watched this far, I do really appreciate it. Let me know in the comments, do you have any use for a dash cam? Would you consider this one? You know, why would you? Would you not consider this one? And if you have any questions, please do let me know. And yeah, as always, thanks again for watching. Adios. Outro crew. Where would you not want a dash cam? I mean, I understand some people not wanting, say for instance, evidence being recorded, but it is very easy to format that card. I'll just say I have tested how fast it formats, and it's about 10 seconds to get it done, so don't need to worry about that. But yeah, let me know, outro crew, because I know some of you are have tasty bikes and like to go fast. Would you use one if you were, say, sometimes skirting how legal your speeds were or whatnot, or would you be concerned you'd forget to format it and get caught out? Because the other thing is, I think it's nicely, my one is nicely kind of hidden. No one really ever notices it, to be honest, which is kind of cool. So yeah, let me know, outro crew. Bye, outro crew. This screen is so awkward because like I'm there moving around, you know, on the screen I'm moving, and then I'm looking at me on the screen, and I hope it's not too obvious, but it's really difficult not to be like, movement. I don't know, I've like a cat brain. If there's movement, I look at it, so yeah. But I also need to know I'm in focus and the camera's still turned on.